We now want to move to the next stage, and that is to do one of the things that we have committed ourselves to as a Hesabika, what we have just described in the strategic plan. And just to introduce this next session, I want to say something that is very obvious. At the moment, there are not many things that Kenyans agree on. Maybe the name Kenya, we don't have any problems here. And it doesn't matter where you come from, what side of the country, at least we would agree with, that we are still Kenya. Let me tell you one other thing that probably the only other thing we seem to be agreed on. That Kenya is a divided country. Is there anybody who disagrees with that? It is stating the obvious. We are divided, it says we are even divided into 47 countries. We are a divided country. Looks as if everything else is debatable. And the interpretation of just about everything else depends on where you come from and possibly even your last name. Even amongst us believers. I'm told by the bishops and the pastors who are here that one of the issues right now, and it seems to come every 5 years, I wonder why, it is very difficult to get two believers who seem to agree on the same thing regarding the direction our country is going. Let me give you a few more examples where we don't seem to agree. For example, who won the 8 August elections? Now, if we don't agree, right? We'll start fighting here, and we don't want that. Now, of course, we are brethren, so we won't fight. Okay, here's another example of something that we may not agree. Was the Supreme Court decision justified? Kenyans don't seem to agree, and believers don't seem to agree either. Here's another one. Is Justice Maraga a saint or a crook? You'd think even amongst the brethren there would be a view, but there is certainly views about that. Okay? Here's another one. Did we have an election or a selection on the 26th of October? You will note that we don't agree. Here is another one. Did the police use excessive force, or are they just defending themselves when they shot dead between 10 to 40 victims, most of them from Nyanza? Right? Here's the final one. Are the Kikuyus the Jews of today? Of course, if you are Gentile, you know what your answer is. And those people of that view, they claim that God will deal with the rest of Kenyans as he dealt with the Amalekites and all the other ites of the Bible. Now, if you think, do you know, I mean, even amongst here, there are people who believe one or the other of all these things that we have said. And isn't it sad that even believers are divided on matters that should be obvious to us? You ask me what is obvious. And I started fearing that we have crossed the line when Musado was, let's say he died, because some people will not even believe he was murdered, right? So he was murdered.
No,
and he died, all right? So, depending on where you come from, he died because he was running around with a young girl. And on the other side, because of course he was the IT expert just before the election, right? That may be, people can say, it's debatable and it's justified. But I lost hope when a 6-month baby was clobbered to death with a police rubu. And because it is a NASA baby, there are people who didn't feel any outrage. You know, when, especially God's people, when we don't have outrage for things that really concern God, you are pointing a finger not at the opposition, but at God himself. And we need to search ourselves, particularly as believers. You know, some of you will say, I wonder what his other name is, because you are too hard on one side. On the Jubilee side, you might say. And you may ask, you know, why are you taking sides? I'll tell you why. Because God takes sides. And you fight from Scripture. He takes the sides, and the side of the oppressed and the poor. Always. God takes sides. 3 scriptures, and I'll just mention them. Romans 15 verse 1. We who are strong ought to bear with the failings, with the scruples of the weak. And those of us who are blessed, I don't know whether it's blessed, to be on the side that has got historical advantages. Numerical numbers. The tyranny of numbers, you might say. Our numerical and historical advantages are not meant to give us the tyranny of numbers, but greater responsibility. That is what Scripture says. Luke 12:48. To whom much is given, of him much will be required. The Kikuyus and those in the Jubilee zone, we hold the key to the reconciliation of this country. If this country is going to be reconciled, whether believers are involved or it, you who are blessed to be from the Jubilee side, I included, we have to take greater initiative. Scripture expects it. Finally, Isaiah chapter 1, 15 to 18. This is what it says. When you spread your hands, I will hide my eyes from you. Even though you make many prayers, I will not hear. Your hands are full of blood. Wash yourselves, verse 16. Make yourselves clean. Put away the evil of your doings from before my eyes. Cease to do evil. And then verse 17. This is what this prophecy of Isaiah says. Learn to do good. Seek justice. Rebuke the oppressor. Defend the fatherless. Plead for the widow. That is what we are meant to do, especially when you have the advantages. So the verse, chapter 1, verse 18 of Isaiah, where it says, come now, let us reason together, says the Lord, is not an invitation for unbelievers to come to the Lord. It is for believers, people who are here. Come, let us reason together. We cannot continue like this. Now, we have not invited here today to get to the bottom of what the political situation in Kenya is and who is more to blame than the other. We don't have enough time anywhere to cover those things. We have come because we believe that even with those divisions, there are some things that we can agree on. Let me suggest a few. Something is not right with the electoral management. I don't think there are many people who will disagree with that. They may not agree with who is at fault and what we should do about it, but certainly something is not right. Because how come every 5 years, I saw Mr. Lee Karuri there. He is the chair of KEPSA Foundation and the business and also the religious leaders issued a statement the other day. They say, this is madness. Every 5 years, Kenya goes mad. Kenya goes mad. I mean, what a place. Every 5 years. So, our electoral management, there is something that is not right. We can agree on that. The second one is whether we agree on the reason for it or not, and whether it is justified or not. It is a fact. There is a huge sense of social and economic exclusion in this country. At least half of the country feels that this business is run by a few people, and particularly the Gikuyus and those who work around them. So whether we could have arguments here about why is there exclusion. The fact of the matter is there is. And that is something that we need to work on. And so, and I wasn't meant to talk this long. What we want to do for the time that is left is to provoke you and to provoke ourselves even further. I'm going to ask two, they happen to be gentlemen, the lady who was meant to come and present was not able to come. And after briefly sharing what they have to share, we then want to have a conversation on, okay, this is the situation. Where do we go from here? What is it as individuals we can continue doing, start doing? That is what Hesabika is about. Hesabika is primarily about pointing the finger this way. What is it that I can stand to be counted for? And then secondly, we are going to say, what about as believers, as a body of, community of faith, as churches? What is it that we could do to, as a Bishop Rutich challenged us, so that we can begin to be the agents of that transformation and bringing this country together? And then what is it that we should do as citizens of this country?